We're in Manchester, New Hampshire tonight, home of the final Democratic debate before the high-stakes primary here next week. Tonight, the furious scramble by presidential candidates to shake up the polls in their favor, hoping to prove to voters they are ready to be commander-in-chief. Here's ABC's David Wright.
Tonight in New Hampshire, all of the Democrats came out swinging, not at each other, but at Donald Trump.
Everybody up here, by the way, is united. No matter who wins this damn thing, we're all going to stand together to defeat them.
If we want to beat this president, we've got to be ready to move on from the playbook that we have relied on in the past and unify this country around a new and better vision.
We have a president that literally blames everyone in the world, and we have not talked about this enough. He blames Barack Obama for everything that goes wrong. He blames the Prime Minister of Canada for, he claims, cutting him out of the Canadian version of Home Alone 2. Who does that? That's what Donald Trump does.
He is a symptom of a disease that has been building up in our communities for years and decades.
You have to have experience to take him down. This is not a question of he's a nice guy who's going to listen. We need people with experience. That's why I'm worried about Mayor Pete.
Afterward, in the spin room, several candidates made the case to Tom Yamas that they're up to the task of taking on Trump.
You know, I've taken worse forms of incoming than a tweet full of typos. I'm going to be just fine going up against this president.
Our number one job, beat Donald Trump. But I think that bringing our party together is about fighting. It's about fighting for working people. It's about fighting for America's middle class.
Tonight's criticisms aside,
Madam Speaker, the President of the United States.
This has been a pretty good week for the president. On Tuesday, he was triumphant at the State of the Union, knowing the very next day Senate Republicans would vote to clear him.
Not guilty, not guilty, not guilty.
Final tally, 52-48, with Mitt Romney, the lone Republican, voting against Trump. Today, Trump wouldn't say which Democrat worries him most.
Everybody's a threat. I view everybody as a threat.
He's too busy enjoying a victory lap.
So now they have a failed impeachment hoax. They can put that on their resume.
Celebrating his acquittal.
It's a celebration because we have something that just worked out.
He hasn't exactly minced words.
It was all
Speaker Pelosi hasn't minced words either. She defended the Democrats' decision to pursue impeachment, even though there was always only a slim chance the Senate would remove Trump.
You're impeached forever. You're never getting rid of that scar.
Today, the White House started a purge, taking aim at some of the civil servants who they believe crossed Trump. Among them, Lieutenant Colonel Alexander Vindman, who testified in the House impeachment hearings.
Do not worry. I will be fine for telling the truth.
This morning, ABC's Kira Phillips asked Trump about possible vendettas.
The press secretary said your political opponents should pay. Who should pay and how will they pay?
Well, you'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens.
The writing was on the wall.
Mr. President, would you like to see Alexander Vindman out of your White House?
Well, I'm not happy with him. You think I'm supposed to be happy with him? I'm not.
Later in the day, Vindman was kicked out of the White House.
He should be pinning a medal on Vindman and not on Rush Limbaugh. I think we should all stand and give Colonel Vindman a show of how much we supported him. Stand up and clap for Vindman. Get up there.
Apparently, he's not alone. There's late word tonight Ambassador Gordon Sondland has been abruptly recalled from the EU. Not on stage today because he's not competing in the early states, billionaire businessman Mike Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York.
The president seems to view the Republican Party as a cult that will defend anything he does or says, no matter how lawless or reckless.
There are millions of people who can desire to run for office. But I guess if you're worth $60 billion and you could spend several $100 million on commercials, you have a slight advantage. That is nonsense.
Look, I don't think anyone ought to be able to buy their way into a nomination or to be president of the United States.
Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders came out of Iowa in the lead. Joe Biden, running a distant fourth in Iowa, sought to lower expectations here, too.
I took a hit in Iowa. and I'll probably take a hit here.
On health care tonight, Biden went on the attack.
Bernie's plan costs double what the taxpayers are paying.
Taking aim at one of Sanders' signature campaign promises, Medicare for all.
Look at the numbers. How much is it going to cost? Who's going to pay for it? It will cost more than the entire federal budget we spend now.
ABC's David Muir pressed Buttigieg about his criticism of Biden's vote to authorize war in Iraq.
You said it's the difference between tenure and judgment, that it's the judgment that matters, not the time in Washington. Vice President Biden, as you know, voted yes. As commander-in-chief, do you believe your judgment would be better than the vice president's?
I believe that I have the judgment to help us get through these situations where obviously the vice president made the wrong decision when it came to such an important moment in our foreign policy.
I made a mistake. I said it 14 years ago. I trusted George Bush to keep his word. He said he was not going to go into Iraq. He said he was only using this to unite the United Nations.
Sanders chimed in on that.
I also heard the arguments in terms of the war in Iraq from Bush, from Cheney, from John Bolton, from the whole administration. I listened very carefully, and I concluded that they were lying through their teeth.
Tonight, Sanders was asked about Hillary Clinton's recent comments, sharply critical of him, just yesterday on Ellen, for instance.
If you promise the moon and you can't deliver the moon, then that's going to be one more indicator of how, we just can't trust each other.
Our job is to look forward and not back to 2016. And I hope that Secretary Clinton and all of us can come together and move in that direction.
One big theme tonight was how best to appeal to all Americans.
Look, we got to stop taking the black community for granted. That's the starting place.
I'm glad to stand on this stage with my fellow Democrats who talk about how important the black community is, at least at election time. Year after year after year, election after election after election, Democrats go to people in the black community and say, boy, we really care about these issues. Racism is terrible. We all want to do something. And then somehow the problem just seems to keep getting worse.
Criminal justice issues came up in that context.
How do you explain the increase in black arrests in South Bend under your leadership for marijuana possession?
And again, the overall rate was lower.
No, there was an
national
increase.
rate.
The year before you were in office, it was lower.
Buttigieg has struggled to attract support among African Americans.
These things are all connected, but that's the point. So are all of the things that need to change in order for us to prevent violence and remove the effects of systemic racism, not just from criminal justice, but from our economy, from health, from housing, and from our democracy itself.
Senator Warren, is that a substantial answer from Mayor Buttigieg?
No.
At the heart of this Democratic debate, whether to beat Trump, the party needs to excite the base or unite the middle, whether energy or experience matters more, and most importantly, who has the total package to beat Trump?
I'm a fresh face up here for a presidential debate, and I figure, Pete, that 59, my age, is the new 38 up here. The second thing I think about is this, and that is...
New 50.
Okay, there you go. Meeting the moment.
Next Tuesday, New Hampshire voters get their moment. I'm David Wright for Nightline in Washington.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.